chisel beats, Khazar when it's time to group. My mind out with the hourly, no ties to heathen when they act a fool. No matter it's sweet, I saw brilliant. Those white beaters look great in the news. Little Drake about who still tell me those candidates burning tails on a loop. Pursuit of my vibe, no, I'm tryna bind on. Off me through ground, through all of this strife for my life. One with the universe and this hell. Where I had to keep eye on for these pythons and these on this tail. Where I had to design on the lights on. Godspeed for him. Still ringing these bells, the enemies die now. Can't stand alone now. Time is getting you. You've been some fold and quit. It's life now within sight and sound. Touching here in the zone, man. Lies within the truth. Inside we surface. Caution nebula, pure night's mounts. My defense away from these hoaxes. They cellular and both, producing no origins of these regulars. Society now is rhyming more than ever noticed. Types of meta group, projecting the sorrow in. Worst thing that you can do is lie about your age like it is you. Babylonian, but generally serving whom? Relating your genders to profane. Time within the truth, violating a melanin. Producing these servitudes throughout candidas in their fate. Types that live in aloof and ready they tailoring. Pale skin's not the same as blue. It's only whitewash and fade that tastes like is you. Babylonian. One of the worst things you can do is lie to me about adrenochrome. In common sense, if it's karmically, it's not difficult, no oracles. Pure heaven sends God brought to me, walking the truth, violating it. Over the rest, my ancestry inherited me through melanation. Heaven sent from your first origins, I don't give a fuck, never borrow. Feeling like you embraced barbarian and sin, so soulless, got them blowing candles. Wrongs in their intent, what they saw on their lips, just so thin, projecting sorrow. She lives as a misfit, soon as she quit, the die rejected, chasing follows. They're leading New York, I'm out to see no hoax. Only the despised ain't on the line. These three foes been around time for the bullets. They came on the rise, 1845. It's really 800, the cabbages know you are Delphine pie, soul is full of bite. Adding 1,000 years, Odyssey motives, full of candida lies like Edomites. Converting the images, who's sensitive, fatiguing a melanin, they fit a rest. They see clear pictures, wasted at a kiss, they pick what they can, simply disparate. Dispatch conquest was done by embrace, trying to sell you technology like businessmen. Swanning between the lines, advertising. I keep on coming, no shit never ends, trying to racing again.
Now what happened? The Eastern European Jews, who form 92% of the world's population, of those people who call themselves Jews, were originally Khazar. They were warlike tribes that lived deep in the heart of Asia. And they were so warlike that even the Asiatics drove them out of Asia into Eastern Europe. And reduce this so you don't get too confused about the history of Eastern Europe. They set up this big Khazar kingdom, 800,000 square miles. Only there was no Russia, there were no other countries, and the Khazar kingdom was the biggest country in all Europe. So big and so powerful that when the other monarchs wanted to go to war, the Khazars would loan them 40,000 soldiers. That's how big and powerful they were. Now, they were phallic worshippers.
No doubt in people with higher melanin, natural higher melanin, that it's far more likely that that melanin will be coating the nucleus, the cell wall of the nucleus of the DNA. Now the point about that is that ultraviolet light, which is often used to splice DNA, is blocked by that melanin. It absorbs it. It doesn't allow it in to interfere with the DNA. And it could well be, and this is Nigel's thesis, that this was a blocker for them when they were trying to genetically alter the species. And therefore, when maybe just out of random mutation something like an albino came along, they discovered, wow, we can get straight in. And it may well be that the paler skinned nation, people on the earth, maybe have that pale skin because of this genetic experimentation to make things easier for them to work on human DNA. And in fact, Professor Steve Jones argues that this thing about vitamin D being, paler skin being there to allow vitamin D to be absorbed and so on, all these theories about why pale skin happened in the first place, he believes it's not an adequate explanation. There is no real explanation or justification for the need for pale skin at all.
Yeah, because I think if
dark skin is always an advantage in every circumstance.
Right. And the cloning ties into the incubator babies.
And these were the babies, what we call premature or preemies, that were on display in the exhibitions across the world. And this one here is the Chicago World's Fair. So you go inside and they'd have premature babies. Now, these were on display in incubators, inspired by a man called Dr. Martin Cooney. Now, I've done some digging on Dr. Martin Cooney. He's not a doctor. He's got no medical qualifications, and that isn't his real name either. His name's Cohen, and he's from Germany. Now, these babies in Chicago, they were on loan from a maternity hospital in New York. But how do you get premature babies from New York to Chicago? How do you do that? You know, what did they have in the vehicle? Did they have power inside the vehicle and incubators that they could transport that were running? And what did the parents think about this? My baby is, you know, perhaps not going to make it, but you can put it on a freak show and drive it on a horse and buggy or a train halfway across America. And even stranger than that, in London, at the London Expo at Crystal Palace, the babies were on loan from a maternity hospital in Paris, according to Wikipedia. And there's the man himself, Dr. Martin Cooney. And what they actually said was they could speed up the last 3 months of the baby's, what's the word I'm looking for, gestation. They could speed that up into just a few days. And this is where the human cloning comes into the Cabbage Patch theory. They started doing this in Germany, and they were doing it in places that were later called kindergartens. And also, at the same time, a word came out called doppelganger. So people are putting two and two together and saying they were cloning in Germany to repopulate, and then they were being shipped across the world. And initially, some of them went into Russia, which took the biggest hit. And I tried looking with doing my genealogy online to see where my grandfather, my mother's father, who was from Ukraine, where he was born. He was born in Germany, then went to Ukraine, and then was shipped when he was 6 years old to New York and went on the orphan trains. So they shipped them all over the world.
832 BC is when Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. The first European book was written thousands of years after Africans had written books and kept them in their libraries and their temples. And then right here we get to 753 BC when Romulus and Remus founded the city of Rome. So right here, this little bitty space right here is the beginning of Greco-Roman history and culture. This is the beginning of white folk culture, thousands of years after African culture. So to get to your question and to illustrate it, right here in blue, this little period in blue here, little small period in blue here, from 1444 to 1888 is the European enslavement of African people. So anytime we begin our history in slavery, we are missing out on all of this documented history, documented success.
But your history ain't start with slavery. Yeah, challenge yourself to understand who you are beyond the chains of this country.
But Dolores Cannon believed that 80% of the population can't trace their family tree back past really the 1800s with any accuracy, and we refer to them today as NPCs.
Wow.
She said they were soulless. I don't think anything living is soulless. I think we all have a connection, but it was called whitewashing, for want of a better expression, and it was to make out, and they did this at the World's Fairs and Expositions. They would have on display people from indigenous tribes, and they would bring children from Africa, put them on display, and they were labelled as primitive and savage. And this was specifically to dumb down and remove history, and this is connected to the Moors from Africa who built some of the most beautiful architecture in the world. They wanted everybody to consider it as primitive, and Tartaria was removed for a similar reason, so we would consider Moscow, Russia, to be backward.
You gotta know something about history. Now just listen to what I'm saying. The white North is really only been ruled for a little over 90 years. First of all, we didn't rule Africa until the late 1800s. He had the slaves. He was warned against his own damn self for 700 or 800 years. He only became a world power to dominate the entire world this century and left for the last century with the British Empire. So that means he only had roughly about close to 100 years. And so compared to what he had been doing, that's almost like an hour. So you gotta look at the bigger picture of things. Everything is under control. He might run around this motherfucker, but he don't run this shit. We run this shit. He might run his little ass around this shit. The white boy might run his little ass around it, but we run this motherfucker. It's just that the African has been convinced, or the ancient one has been convinced that he doesn't, only in his damn mind. We come out wanting the same little old material mess that he wants, which is nothing. Trinkets. You know it doesn't have any value. He got to keep reinventing stuff new. Now what's an intruder? An intruder is a person that wasn't there in the beginning, that is there now, that's ruling over the original people. A.E. Waite's Holy Kabbalah says, and the intruder, he rules because he causes luxury. And he rules through his luxury. He's a chameleon. Keep changing the fashion, keep changing the technology, and you keep running after the shit. Material possessions. So he really ain't the king or nothing. So they say the empire changes of the earth, but it only changes the outer appearance. He's the Lord of illusion. So in any way, what we're talking about here is why he only came with religious material. Because the religious material tells you in actuality, we are looking to build a civilization to match his, and he has civilized properties.
From the white tiles, witches on me, appointed times of group. Signs on the sky, age of Aquarius flooding true. Learning events in history, they whitewashing out the grove. Those are responsible, giving theories out the loom. Incubated cabbages and one created by the moon. Led by Anunnaki savages in 1800 soon. Take the one off you know, those who hide behind the oath. Those who lost simply disconnected like the Ghana salt. If all these white Caucasian really cars out in the sun. Their skins made up a mountain to violate the melanin. We wonder why gunpowder was revolutionary. In order to maintain and conquer through Spanish conquest. Advertising once again, technological weapons. Like a Spaniard named Cortez and Hispanics peeling skin. What came after them again, those Latinos threw us in. When they came in the Americas, they colonized the trend. Through the 1500s, Montezuma was become. Finesse was betrayed, through agreements they stood. Now why is this important? To example what they did. Some way the government likes to set us up for laboring. Mitochondria, the United was already here in place. Like every other continent, where cultures led astray. Those were melanated, running black against the grain. At least we have a soul and conscious, white will never break. There's not no feudal system, centralized to synthetic. Powers that being out of list, obvious ties in the lesson. Out of Africa theory started with violet and red. When there was no homo erectus on this earth at the beginning. Through republics and democracy, what truly set the course. Along with secret society, stemming further back than Moors. From the Ottomans, Mongolians, even Constantinople. The Anunnaki was behind it all, supplying the Trojan horse. With genetic approach concerning who they structured in. Mitochondria leave is a misnomer and a threat. Molecular biology is by anthropologists. Modeled after skull and bone, the lies will never rest. You'd wonder why I met a group with military tech, tracking everything you do with the human population. From residential patterns to cultural variations. Introgression from archaic humans to the sun and rain. Modeled after skull and bones, the lies will never rest. You'd wonder why I met a group with military tech, tracking everything you do with the human population. Trying to rise like a phoenix, the old reptilians wanna live.
But we have come to believe that Europe is a continent because Europeans told us it was a continent. That in itself is part of the concept of whiteness. Europe is not a continent.